up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome back to the Nerdy Narrative, where today I am going to go over all of the things that I have been reading over the last week, share with you what I finished, what I am working on, and what I plan to read next. Starting with what I finished, which is gonna seem like a lot, but I did read a lot of shorter novels this week. So let's just jump in, get started on what all I finished, which first up on the pile is Jim Butcher's Blood Rights. This is a reread for me. I'm rereading the entire Dresden verse. That is the short stories, the graphic novels, and the full-length novels. I have been mostly consuming these through audiobooks. I have just about every version of these books you can have. I've got a physical copy, I've got them on my Kindle, and I have all the audiobooks as well. Because I've read through Battleground and just how things have progressed to get the series to where it currently is, I am actually looking for clues where Jim Butcher was trying to point me into the direction that the series was going to go. So that's been a lot of fun. There's also a few things I noticed in the later books that I'm thinking, now wait a minute, that wasn't always that way. So I'm looking for validation that I did notice something small happening and I'm trying to figure out if I'm right. Just having a bit of fun. Now, while I have read the novels before, I've never read all of the short stories and graphic novels, so all of that's new. And my husband Chris has started listening to the audiobooks. He's currently on Grave Peril, which is the first book in the series that really hooked me onto the Dresden verse. So it's been so much fun enjoying the series with him as well. So Dresden aside, I did finish Dead of Winter by Darcy Coates. I have to walk back on some of the things I said about it. While I still never fell in love with Darcy Coates' writing style, I did enjoy how the author wrapped everything up, did the reveals of what all was actually going on and just how they brought that about. When I first started getting an inkling of, okay, I see where this is going and how it's going to connect, I thought, that seems too easy, too convenient. But they didn't just do a surface level, oh, this is how all this connects. No, there was some deeper thought put into it, some nice touches that really made me believe this could actually have happened, and I enjoyed it. Will I ever read it again? No, it's not that type of thriller, but it did pull enough out for me to want to try another one of Darcy Coates. I would say give it a shot if it's one that interests you, if you're someone who loves a good thriller or suspense story that's in a winter setting. This one is right up your alley. I would just say maybe get it from your library. So, Dead of Winter, that ended up being a 3-star read for me for Darcy Coates. Next up on the list, I was supposed to get my physical copy of this yesterday on release day. Amazon emailed me and they're like, oh, your shipment is running late. I did read and review the arc for I Am AI by Ai Jiang, and it might be pronounced I Am I because that is the main character's name, which they created an app called I Am AI. It's a play on their name, and this person is a cyborg. They're part human, part machine, and they make their income from a program they created where they write various things for clients, and it still has that human touch to it, and people like that because they want something written with that human touch. The world that this narrative takes place in is very AI reliant, they're very streamlined, but people still have the desire, the need to read something that has the feel of another person's emotions behind it. And the main character, because they are still part human, they feel things, they get tired, they get hungry. The constant struggle of trying to keep up and compete and remain relevant is just, oh my gosh. While this story is very tragic, it is sad, it's a little scary because it's really easy to see that this could be our future. But what the author does is threads in this message of hope. Oh, I was crying by the end. Not a sad cry, it was definitely a happy cry. I just cannot recommend Ai Jiang enough. She is just absolutely wonderful. When I read and reviewed her little novella, Ling Kyun, a couple of months ago, I told y'all this was a name to remember and that this was an author to keep your eye on, and she has done nothing but prove me right. Just absolutely wonderful. Let's see, what else did I finish? Optic Nerve by Rebecca Rowland. This is one that wasn't on the TBR. It got snuck in, and that is because my friend Jason Grell, the narrator of the audiobook, offered me a code to listen to in consideration of a review. And if the name Rebecca Rowland sounds familiar, I recently read and reviewed a collection that she edited called American Cannibal, and I still think about that collection of short stories. That is definitely going to be a reread for me. Let's talk about Optic Nerve. So this is the story of Sean, and this is told in a format that I really love called a nested narrative. It's a story within a story. So it opens up, Sean is sitting in a bar and he's talking to somebody else, and just as the conversations seem to do, especially in a bar, it leads to telling a story. And he's telling the story about himself, but of course the other person doesn't realize that it's about him. This story that he tells is about a scientist who is working to develop this formula that could possibly end blindness. And how it works is it stimulates the part of the brain that controls perception. And how the story gains its footing, how it hooks its readers, is Sean is of course excited. He's really wanting to get this off the ground. There has to be testing. That means there's a lot of hoops and approvals that it has to have, and that runs very, very slowly. Sean decides he's going to test the drug on himself. Now remember when I said how it works is it stimulates the part of the brain dealing with perception? So Sean starts hearing the voice of a woman in his mind named Helena. When that starts to happen, I thought so many things. I thought maybe this is a part of his personality. Maybe he's schizophrenic and that's always been locked up. So Helena is another personality. Then as the story progressed, I thought, no, she's a ghost. And then I thought, well, does this person really exist? It is such a great story. There are some of those $10 scientific words in there, and I am no scientist. I have no idea about any of that stuff, but Rebecca Rowland, I feel she really did her homework because it made sense. At least it made sense to me. Now, did I go fact check all of that stuff? No, I didn't. I didn't care. It made sense to me. I was entertained. I was having a good time. I actually started this book and I didn't stop listening to it until I was done. I found it to be very well written. I really enjoyed the pacing. I loved the premise. I loved the ending. And this one got a 4-star rating from me. And that brings us to the last book that I finished this week, which is Deathbringer by Blake Carpenter. Now this one I am not going to give a rating. We save all of the ratings until further into the competition because it is part of phase 1 of SPFBO. It is one of the books that I am reading for Team Bookborn. I had a good time with this one. I took a lot of notes. I'm very interested in this magic system. I did see that it was labeled as book 1 of the Spell Swords saga, so I took plenty of notes because I absolutely plan to continue reading this series. I am a chapter 1 reader. If you can set the hook in me in that first chapter, you pretty much are going to keep me entertained throughout the rest of the novel. And the way this chapter 1 was laid out, I fell in love with these characters, and then what happened at the end of chapter 1, I mean, it's on the back of the book, I'm going to tell you. Our main character, Inga, on her wedding day, and she's just going around the farmstead, everything's getting ready. I just love how everybody that lives on this farm works together, they all know each other, they love each other, they're very close. Just the entire community is getting ready for her wedding. In comes this noble woman and a contingent of soldiers, and they kill everybody. They're looking for the spell sword that is rumored to be in that community called the Deathbringer. As you might pick up from its name, it brings Inga back to life so that she can try and get her sword back from this noble woman before the time is up and she actually expires for good. So if you're a fantasy reader who likes the quest trope, or you love a good revenge story, vengeance, it's so good. I love the magic. Like I said, I was taking lots of notes about the swords, how the swords work. Each one has a different function, which family had which sword because the swords are passed down from mother to daughter. How that worked, what the process was. Anytime any of the history involving the swords was mentioned, I was writing that down. I had a great time with this one. So far, I've read 2 of my 6 books and I am just... This is gonna be really, really hard. It's like I've been telling my friend Esme, it is the sweetest form of torture there is, trying to decide between all of these good books, who's gonna be the one that goes forward. It's gonna be so hard. That is a problem for future Leslie. Present Leslie is just gonna sit back and enjoy these books in the meantime. So that will bring us to, what am I actually still reading? I'm still meandering my way through Lord of Chaos. This one, I'm just reading a couple of chapters a day. This is one I've mentioned previously is probably my least favorite of the series so far. There's been a few more exciting things that happened towards the end, but nothing like any of its predecessors. I do think I will have it finished by the time I talk to you guys next week. Maybe. I am gonna finish it before I leave to go home to Mississippi because I am not lugging that big old book around. I also kicked off the audiobook for Deadbeat, which was my next book in the Dresden Files reread. Oh my gosh. Every time I start one of these books, I forget just what all happened in each of the books. Unlike the Wheel of Time, there is something exciting in every Dresden book. A huge puzzle piece put in place, or a reveal, or some sort of connection that just makes me fall in love with the series all over again. You may have noticed I haven't been really going into detail about what Harry's doing in each book. I know there's a lot of people that are reading the series for the first time that have been watching these. I am not going to be the one that spoils anything in this series because I've really been enjoying the reactions as people has read things and they're like, oh my gosh, this. And I'm like, yes, I know, right? Hearing people's reactions to my favorite books or series brings me as much joy as when I read the book for the first time myself. There's been a couple of entries in my email from Dracula Daily over the last week, so that's still going strong. And then I started the Prox transmissions by the Starset Society. I actually started this yesterday and I am almost halfway done. This is a fast read. If you're a big fan of reading Blake Crouch or A.G. Riddle, this is a book you might be interested in. It's got that suspense, that thrill, that sci-fi hook that Blake Crouch is really well known for, and it's got the pacing of A.G. Riddle. Just a killer combination, as evidenced by me starting it yesterday and almost getting halfway through. It's also mixed media. There's been some journal entries that look handwritten in here. I don't know if that's a font that a computer can do, but it looks handwritten. I really enjoy that. And then you have like the old-fashioned computer printout from back in the day. I'm really enjoying this one so much. What hooked me is it starts out with the amnesia trope. Stephen Browning wakes up on the floor of a gas station bathroom. That immediately, I was going, that is disgusting. That is absolutely disgusting. And his normal reaction is, I drank too much and blacked out. Where am I? He comes out, but he does recognize where he's at and he walks down to a bar that's right down the street. His car's not there either. He goes to his apartment. Somebody else is living there, but they did know who he was, and the girl was like, no, here's where you signed the lease over to me. And he's going, what in the world is going on? But she did give him a letter that was in his handwriting that told him to shave his head. That's where it starts, and it is just taken off. We do find out that Stephen Browning is an astronomer, albeit an unemployed one, as it turns out. He's trying to understand what's happened to him, what's happened to his memory. He's got these clues that he has left himself, and it all leads to this cryptic transmission from deep space. Who knows? I don't know. I'm still reading it. I am loving it. I bet I will finish it today, and I hope I have time, if not, maybe this weekend, to watch the videos of the Starset Society's album. And from what I've heard, the videos are related to the book, so I'm excited to find that out. Huge thank you to my friend Amanda, who not only gifted me an autographed copy from the band, but we're reading it together and having a good time discussing it. So now we're going to talk about a couple of things I'm going to be picking up after finishing the Prox transmission. First up will be the second book in TRSlauf's Legends and Lightning series. This one is called Redemption. The first book was called Hidden Realm that I read last month. Was it last month? So I'm eager to read book 2 to see what is next in Esther's story, as well as everybody else involved. And there's a lot of familiar characters that are in this story because it is a sort of retelling of all of the fairy tale characters, and their stories are very different than those found in the book written by the Brothers Grimm, which is how this started. The Brothers Grimm were the original realm walkers, meaning they could physically move between different realms. And that's how we meet our main character, Esther. In the first book, Esther goes to what I'm thinking is the original realm. It's up to Esther to save this realm and those that are living there. And I have to wonder, because like my thinking is that that's the original realm. And if something happens to it, does that have an effect on the other realms? I don't know, but I'm excited to find out. So I'll be continuing that series, and I think there's a third book coming out in that series, supposedly originally maybe in August or July. One of those. I feel like when I accepted those for review, the author told me that the third book was maybe going to be out in July or August. I will of course update you guys as soon as I know. And then I will be reading Cherry Blossom by Wilbur Seymour. It's book 3 in the Kuiper series. I've been trying to get this book read over the last couple of months. I feel like this is the month it's gonna happen. Here's hoping, fingers crossed, I'm ready to see what is next in the story of Bob. Bob is the master technician, or was, of a decommissioned space station called the Kuiper Station. We have artificial intelligence that's been tampered with, improved. We have space pirates. There's all kinds of fun stuff going on. There was a bigger story behind everything that was revealed in the last book, and I am excited to see where that is going to lead in this next book, and then hopefully I will be finishing that series in July. With what I'm currently reading and having these two on deck, those should keep me plenty of busy over the next week until I update you guys next Friday. I hope you all have had a wonderful week this week and you've had some great reads in. If you'd like to share anything you've been reading you think I might be interested in, definitely let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you in the next one.